Welcome everybody. This is James Krasnerick, and I'm live here on Spreaker Web Radio for another round of Real Steel Sports. What I'll be doing today is I'll be talking about each of the 4 NFL wildcard playoff games. I'm going to go in order from which they will appear on the television schedule. The first one will be Arizona at Carolina, followed by Baltimore at Pittsburgh, Cincinnati at Indianapolis, and Detroit at Dallas to top it off. For those of you who don't know, I am really looking forward to the games this weekend because we got a very interesting group of games, very different teams, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they play out. And one of the more interesting games, I believe, will be Arizona-Carolina because you get 2 teams that have been completely different this entire season. Arizona solid 11-5, and Carolina 7-8-1. The second team with a losing record to ever make the NFL playoffs, counting the 2010 Seattle Seahawks, the other one at 7-9. Arizona started off strong. They were 9-1 to start the year, and they've been 3-4 over their last 7. They have pretty much backed into the playoffs, have struggled really due to the inconsistency at the quarterback position. But when they did play well, have good quarterback play, which was with Carson Palmer most of the time, Arizona did very, very well, and they were a tough team to beat. In fact, had Arizona not lost Carson Palmer, there's a good chance they might have gone the number 1 overall seed. Now, Carolina pretty much had a really rugged start to the year, losing Greg Hardy to the off-the-field issues that he had. They, at one point, were 3-8. They had their last win was against Chicago. They go into New Orleans and blow out the Saints. They beat the Buccaneers, they beat the Browns, and then they destroy the Falcons in Atlanta to finish off the season. 7-8-1 was enough to win the division, which makes it one of the weakest divisions in the history of the NFL. Carolina did this on the strength of a powerful running game that ever since the Week 12 loss tie in overtime to the Cincinnati Bengals, Carolina has been getting at least 100 yards rushing in every one of its games. Cam Newton's played well, come back off his injury, and they've only committed 4 turnovers over their past 4 games. They've been very good at cleaning up that part of the football. Now, Arizona, on the other hand, brings in one of the better defenses in the NFL this year. They had a very good stretch to start the year, but it kind of faded a little bit down the stretch. And if you look at some of the games that they've had as of late, that kind of demonstrates that. There was a period in time where that defense was an absolute brick wall. They went from the game at home against the Redskins to the game at home against Detroit. They won 6 straight in that span and did not allow more than 20 points per game. And they held Detroit to 6 points. But since then, the lid's kind of come off. They've given up 29 in Atlanta. They gave up 20 to San Francisco last week in Jim Harbaugh's last game as coach. And Seattle blew them out 35-6 in their own home stadium. So that can't be much of a confidence booster. Arizona comes in with the 5th best scoring defense, allowing only 299 points, which is 5th in the National Football League. They are 29th against the pass and 13th against the run. As for the Carolina Panthers, they will be featuring a team that has played a lot better as of late. I mean, the blowout of Atlanta was extremely impressive. I thought Atlanta had a really good chance to win that game at home in the Superdome and to win an otherwise impossibly, mind-bogglingly weak division this year. But anyways, here's how Carolina came in. They are currently 11th in pass defense, 12th in rush defense. They're 21st in points allowed. They have allowed 374 points, and they only scored 339. Again, scoring fewer points than they gave up. Not very common amongst NFL division winners, particularly ones like Carolina. The way that I look at this game is I'm interested to see how the Arizona Cardinals handle the Carolina Panthers running game. Because you got Cam Newton, who's a big, strong quarterback, kind of like Colin Kaepernick, but I think Cam Newton's a better thrower of the football than Kaepernick. So that's going to be a tougher challenge because Cam Newton's accuracy has historically been much better, and he's been far superior at making plays when there's nothing there. Kaepernick takes way too many sacks. Now, as for Jonathan Stewart, He has played very, very well over the past few games. He has been the big reason as to why Carolina has gotten back in the swing of things. He may only have had 49 yards rushing in the last game against Atlanta, but if you look at what he was averaging between the 3 wins against the Saints, which is 155, he had the win against Tampa where he had 75, and the win against Cleveland where he had 122. He was averaging about 117 yards a game, and it was really key for him to get going because the way that Carolina has played this year, they need him to play well if they're going to win. However, if you were to reverse it, and let's talk about how Carolina's defense matches up against Arizona's offense. Because I think if you're going to look at the historical battle of that, you have to realize that Arizona's defense against Carolina's offense, it's kind of like a cancel-out effect. Arizona's probably going to hold on Carolina's running game pretty well, and Cam Newton's going to have to beat them through the air. And if Cam Newton can do that and find some targets, I think he's going to have a good game. Now, reversing it, Arizona comes in with the 27th best scoring offense at 310 points, which is right under 20 points per game. They are 14th in passing yards a game and 31st in rushing yards a game. As for Carolina, they come in with the 21st ranked pass scoring defense. They are 11th against the pass, 16th against the run. But on offense, they are 17th in scoring, 19th passing, and 7th in rushing. And if you look at their results this year in the games where they ran for 100 yards or more as a team, they did struggle for a period of time. They did, but it was mostly due to the fact that their defense was giving up a lot of big plays. But if you look at the games where they really clamped down and played well, like games against the Saints where they just clamped down on Drew Brees, or at Tampa, or against Cleveland, or at Atlanta last week where they forced 3 turnovers. When the defense plays well, Carolina is a lot more relaxed and they can run the football and eat up the clock. A ground and pound kind of scheme, if you will. Arizona is going to be able to counter that, I believe, with the run defense that they have. Now, on the opposite side, you've got Ryan Lindley, who's probably going to start for the Arizona Cardinals this weekend, because I believe Drew Stanton is out for this game as well. Ryan Lindley has had an okay season, and I use okay very sparingly. Considering the fact that he's had barely any NFL experience, in 2 starts this year, he's completing 45 and 93 passes for 562 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 4 picks. Passer rating 56.8. However, we've seen strange things go on in the playoffs with quarterbacks they had no business in playing. So Ryan Lindley could get hot, but I'm not looking for it to be this weekend because I know he's got Larry Fitzgerald and Michael Floyd to help him out, but Carolina's defense the last few games has been playing very, very well. If they can hold down Matt Ryan and Drew Brees to a combined 13 points in their own stadiums, indoors, in domes, where both of those quarterbacks historically have been lights out, that gives Ryan Lindley very little chance against the Panthers. Very little. My opinion on this game is I believe that when all's said and done, Carolina's going to win. If you look at it right now, the spread for this game see if I can find it real quick. Actually, I don't know what the spread is for this game. But if you look at the last 5 meetings, Arizona has beaten them 3 of those 5, but they won the last 2. So, in all honesty, this game's a pick'em. But I'm going with Carolina for this reason. They've played better lately. They have leapt into the playoffs versus backing up like Arizona did. They've got a quarterback who's been to a Pro Bowl and has been in the playoffs. They've got a defense with guys that may not necessarily be household names or be that good, but they'll be good enough to hold down the Cardinals. Because let's put it this way. If Ryan Lindley is starting at quarterback and Arizona's only getting 81 yards a game, that's not going to beat the Panthers in Carolina. The weather's supposed to be rain in the mid-50s. That takes the ball out of the air and puts it on the ground. And if the ball gets put on the ground, there's one team with a huge edge in that category. Carolina. I'm predicting Carolina to win a close game. I think this is going to be kind of an ugly one, but I think Carolina should win. I'm thinking maybe 20-13. I think that's a fair score because while I'm not looking for Carolina to run up the points on the Cardinals, I'm not looking for Arizona to do much offensively. Maybe a couple field goals and a touchdown sounds about right, but when all is said and done, this Arizona team has barely any offense at all, and Carolina's defense, although pretty inconsistent this year, has held Drew Brees and Matt Ryan to 13 points in the meetings that they had with those two in the past 4 games. I think Carolina's going to win this game. I hope you guys enjoyed the first segment. I've got 3 more coming up. The next game I'm going to be discussing, the showdown in Pittsburgh. Put on your war paint.